Yo, 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 welcome everyone back into Crypto's News. It's me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto, here with the latest and the greatest, and more importantly, the important news of what's happening in crypto to make sure that you stay on top of things, to be positioned where you need to be to make hopefully good gains, survive, and if not, thrive in these crazy crypto markets and this crazy crypto world. Well, thank you so much. It's a real treat to be back here. We're going to be talking today about Sam Bankman-Fried's being released on bail. I don't think many people expected that to happen. It's quite wild. And also take a look at the markets and see what we can be expecting coming down the pipe soon when it comes to perhaps some big price moves. So go ahead, as always, grab yourself a nice beverage, maybe a nice snack, a nice treat, and enjoy the show while we get on through. So let's go ahead and start off by looking at the prices overall. What we have here on CoinGecko is Bitcoin currently at $16,701.21. It is down only 0.4% on the day. It could be a lot worse, especially if you're looking at the stock market and some of the news going on there. Although Bitcoin is down 6.1% on the week. Ethereum, pretty much around flat as well. It's up on the day. It's up 0.3% over the last 24 hours, down 7.4% over the last 7 days. Nothing extremely remarkable when you're looking at any specific names, at least here on the first page for cryptocurrencies. And we still have the market caps below $1 trillion. I mean, I can't wait for the day we finally definitively break north of that, considering how much money is being printed. I don't expect it'll take much longer. And eventually this number will look really, really low when you're talking about market caps. Oh, look at CoinGecko. They put a little Christmas logo icon up there, at least holiday logo. Yeah, don't want to solely focus on Christmas. I know many people celebrate different kinds of holidays this time of year. So hopefully you're taking care of your loved ones, taking that time to just be present with them, and staying positive through all of this. So what's happening right now has to do with the stock market a lot. It went down, and I think cryptos were somewhat correlated, but again, it could have been worse. We had the Dow fall over 600 points today. According to Market Watch here, it had to do a lot with what happened with US GDP, third quarter GDP, gross domestic product, which actually grew more than expected. Good news is bad news for markets generally. So you had growth being revised up 3.2%, where it was previously at 2.9%. That was released last month. So looking a little bit rosier, that means that perhaps the Fed's efforts with hiking rates hasn't slowed down the economy very much, meaning their efforts are perhaps futile. I actually think they're completely futile in many different ways. What matters is money creation, money printing, rather than a lot of the other schemes they try to do. But anyway, by their metrics, they are trying to look for unemployment claims, for example, going up. They are trying to manipulate things so that people lose jobs. That's what they want to see before they reverse course. They want to destroy the economy, and unfortunately, they have yet to do so. So that means more rate hikes likely to be coming through 2023. That could mean more pain for riskier things that rely a lot on leveraged things, being able to take out loans to do things like stock buybacks, or being able to fund your new crypto company that's built maybe some of these on hype. And being able to take out cheaper loans with lower interest rates helps fuel a lot of what goes on in crypto. And so, at least these days anyways, so making it more expensive to take out these loans could impact the bottom lines of earnings for stocks. It could impact all sorts of things. And that's why you're seeing prices drop, or at least stay, I think, stable with crypto. Maybe this is a sign that some of the good economics are finally playing a role here for crypto. You have a limited number of Bitcoin. You have Ethereum. Issuance basically flat. It's up like just over 1,000 ETH created since the merge took place. It's basically nothing. Eventually, these fundamentals will play a role when you have these hard currencies, these hard assets that are limited easily. It's easy to get into them, easy to acquire them. For the most part, internationally, these things will, I think, be climbing much higher in due time. Maybe that's playing a role in what could be flattening out here, maybe bottoming out. I think some are suspecting. Although personally, I've been trying to look at things, trying to look at the past, trying to gauge where we're at. And I could see that we could see at least perhaps one more big drop before we really bottom out here. I think it could go either way. I recently had a poll, and let me see if actually I can pull that up here on Twitter, the results of that. And thank you for those of you guys who did partake in the polls. I do like to do these little polls of the day, just to kind of poll different things and get an idea of where people's heads are at. But I asked, poll of the day, will crypto have another major drop before the bottom? 22.8% said no, we've already bottomed. 35.8%, so this was the leading option. It said yes, next will be the bottom. So we will have at least one more drop. Most people think that's kind of in line from what I was thinking, looking at some of the historical charts here. More than one drop, 27.1% believe. So it could be the case that this isn't going to be the last big drop, and we could be seeing more. Although we've suffered quite a lot of drops already, I think it's normal to see Bitcoin drop 85 to 90% before we do bottom out. But we are in a different game here right now when you're looking at the macro picture. So anyway, things looking kind of good. You actually had unemployment claims only up 216,000 when it was expected due to a Wall Street Journal forecast that it would be 220,000, so less unemployment claims than was thought to be. So anyway, things just not looking too bad yet. And so that could be, it could mean the case that you would have the Federal Reserve having to hike more into next year. I think the suspicion was that they would reverse course between basically the end of this year. We're already here at that point, so that's not going to be happening. And the first 3 months of next year. Now it looks like, according to what investors, the bond market are doing, it looks like we could be seeing 4.5%, 5% interest rates, maybe 6 months into next year before a reversal of that, assuming that nothing breaks. So it could be a while longer before, if that's going to be the bull market fuel, we get that. Anyway, just outlining some of the data. I was looking at this. This is why I have here in the title, Hey, Gazer, nice to see you too. And everyone else who's joining. Good to see the old names. Paul, I have Renee out here. Thank you guys so much. Eric, for partaking in the chat. Soda, what's up, Soda? Nice to see you as well. Kevin, of course. Love seeing you guys. I hope you guys are having great holidays and doing well for yourselves. Thanks for sticking around during the bear market. I think you will be rewarded as well. But what we have here is I just drew some random lines here. There are different ways you could draw these lines, notably this line right here, the straight line. And looking at that, to me, it seems like we're going to be coming to a head here when it comes to the prices. Like we're going to be getting major moves. Now, looking at this, I can't predict whether it's going to be to the up or to the down. And trust me, I'm trying to do that myself just to give you guys some information. And it's hard for me to gauge what that's going to be. We do still have a situation where we've continued to make these lower highs, right? You have one here, 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 and we've continued to do that. So we haven't really started some sort of rally yet. And this is something that you've seen in the past, right? Like if you go zoom into this, so this is like 2018, after 2018, up till the recent bull market, that whole area that we have there was like this before okay, so I would say that the bottom, I guess you could say, was this point right here. The bottom was March 2020, where we had this drop off, this bowl like pattern, and then it was up only. It felt like, anyway, up and up and up and up and up and up until the highs of this recent market. Have we seen anything like that similar, where well, what it looks like is that we've basically flattened out. We've basically flattened out and bottomed out and then hit one major new low before climbing higher. I don't think we've seen that unless we bottomed out recently in this, I guess, this point right here. What is this, in June 2022? So if that was the bottom, if that was the low, it could be the case. Then we've already started the bull market, and it would have been the time to accumulate. It would have been the time now to be buying as much as possible, because I think that once this culminates here, this whole period, this line that I've drawn, and again, you can draw it different ways. You can shorten it, you can lengthen it, but all it's showing to me is that in the near term, like if we make it even shorter here, just take it back to like November, like something seems like it's going to be happening here before January 4th, basically January 4th of 2023. So I think some have been suspecting we would see some sort of Christmas rally like with stocks. It hasn't really been anything phenomenal at all. So it hasn't really broken out of this to the upside yet. But on the other side of that coin as well, we haven't seen anything negative happen. And despite FTX coming down, some of this recent FUD around Binance, it hasn't really caused Binance to collapse. Tether has somehow survived all of this. Like, what would be the black swan? We can't really know what a black swan is, right? Without it would, by very nature, not be a black swan. If we could predict what it was, it would be a gray swan at that point. A black swan has to come out of nowhere. But I find it difficult to imagine too many black swans that would come out of here and cause havoc on this market. We've had quite a few recently. But I struggle to think that. So to me, it seems like what it wants to be from just a psychological perspective is sideways crabbing for a long time, but the charts seem to be painting a different picture. Like we are going to be getting different moves, and to me it looks equal. It could be either up or down here. I want to know what you guys are thinking here. If it is to the downside, that would be pretty bad, because that would probably take us below what we saw back in June. And I'm looking at the Ethereum chart, by the way. I should have mentioned that. This is not the Bitcoin chart. The Bitcoin chart is it's like even more vague. It looks tighter here with the Ethereum chart, which is why I'm showing the Ethereum chart in particular. But it just seems to paint a little bit better of a picture, clearer of a picture for me than the Bitcoin one right now. But yeah, if we do drop down here, I think that could cause more confusion. That would be a little bit more tumultuous for the markets. If we go up, that would be a little bit more confirmation for me that we have bottomed here, and you definitely want to be in these markets for the most part. And this is based off history. It's not always going to repeat itself, but I don't think cryptos are going away anytime soon, regardless of what you're hearing out there. It's not dead. Usually around these times is the time to be buying. This is when the important work happens at crypto, and people aren't just buying into the latest hype and the latest shit coins. People are choosing their investments a little bit better. They're keeping their portfolios a bit more focused. You see less investment into just any fund and into the better ones and the better projects. So this is what goes on usually during the winter, and we're deep into it right now. It's not like it's just started anymore. So I think we're closer to the end either way than we are probably to the beginning of this. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that. As I mentioned below, down in the comments, really would appreciate that. Can we discuss stable coins? What do you want to discuss, Shuffle Puff? Stable coins are an interesting area for sure. I mean, I don't know exactly what you want to talk about in regards to them. There's so much to think about when it comes to privacy, when it comes to custody of them, when it comes to how they get their stability, what they're pegged to. And I think for the most part, people have become super worried about algorithmic stable coins, for example. They'd rather have something in a treasury, but that means usually it's going to be more centralized. It's going to be less relying on the code, but the code just hasn't worked out well with things like Luna. And it's hard for me to tell you, hey, this is the #1 stable coin that you should be in right now. Like if you want to have... if you think things are going to go down, you want to be in stable coins, this is the stable coin that you need to be in if you want to hold the best value. It's just a fact that inflation is still eating away at everyone's dollar right now. So even stable coins are not seen as a great place to be. I think some bond investors might be happier right now because at least you're getting some sort of yield on their capital. So stable coins may have been a good place to be. Maybe they'll remain a good place to be, but there might be better places for you. I like having stable coins because to me they're quite liquid. They give you that powder on the side. So if you want to get into these markets for some sort of reason, and things do change really quickly in crypto, maybe you want to stay limber and there's some real reason you want to buy in, then you have that ready for you right away. And so that's one real reason that I like stable coins. There are many reasons to be into stable coins. You don't trust Tether. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't, but I think more people do as well because they've survived so much FUD throughout the years. It's an interesting thing. If you go over to TradingView actually and you look at the technical aggregator thing here that they have there, it says that right now Ethereum is a strong sell. It's saying the same thing for Bitcoin. This is a lagging indicator, I will say. Usually by the time it says strong sell, that's usually when you want to be buying. But yeah, things are not looking good in that sense. Crypto Fear and Greed Index, just to take a quick look at that, is sitting at a 28 right now. Last month, however, it was at a 22. So there was more fear in the markets back then. People are feeling a bit more positive right now, but not extremely positive, not euphoric at all. So that's not really reading too much for me either and give me some sort of direction. I wish I had more for you guys. Like, we're going to definitely be going up or down, or at least that's what I'm thinking, but I really don't. It's hard for me to guess. But one indicator that we might be seeing more downside anyway, once we, again, culminate some of this stuff, is perhaps this. So Bleeding Crypto put this out on Twitter today. No, it was yesterday, actually, last night. The Bitcoin incoming death cross that apparently has never happened here, with the 50 EMA exponential moving average crossing over the 200-day exponential moving average, which has never happened again. And funny how the Moon Boys are not talking about this. I'm a Moon Boy, but I'm talking about it. So just to invalidate some of this tweet, I'm out here with y'all. Anyway, yeah, this would not be a good thing for the prices if this white line did drop below the red. That could really mean some downside. And this could be an indicator that this is the ultimate capitulation coming up for us here to the downside that will take us to the lower bounds here of this bear market. Either way, I just wanted to finish here. I just want to know. I want to know if we're going to be seeing more downside. Personally, I'm positioned in a way with what crypto I have left. It's all right with what I have in the markets right now if it drops a lot. And I would like to know, because I think it would be a nice time to start buying in with what little stable coins I have as well after these moves. So let's just get on with it, right? Anyway, yeah, thanks, Gazer. Gazer agrees. It's hard to know, man. It really is. My crystal ball is extremely foggy right now. U.S. Senate passes at 1 point, but in the longer term, I remain a moon boy. And that's why I remain a moon boy, is because of things like this. The U.S. Senate passing a $1.66 trillion spending bill. I had heard that they just were including $245 billion. That's like a quarter of crypto right there, even more than a quarter of crypto market caps right there, just to go fund in the latest round the Ukraine-Russian war to help Ukrainians out there. So, I mean, this is not money that just disappears. This money that is printed into existence. This is a spending bill. They're going to spend this money. This is money that is going to go into people's pockets. It's going to go either, and I'm not just talking about corruption here. I'm literally talking about, like, even in the war, the people who manufacture weapons, eventually that trickles down into families. There are people who need to eat and buy goods, right? They work for these companies who manufacture these weapons, or they work in the militaries or whatever it is. Eventually that money does creep into accounts, and that money is spent. And that is money that ends up in M2 money supply. That is money that will be chasing fewer supplies of goods. The same, so even if it's more of a supply of goods, is it keeping up with the amount of money that's being printed right now? Probably not, looking at the inflation rates and so much else. Anyway, likely this is something that's going to be, again, playing a role with crypto as well. The amount of money that has been printed is stupid, and eventually it will start showing up when when faith continues to erode in fiat governments and everything else. It will start looking for the safer places to be. Traditionally, it's been gold, silver, precious metals, but I think cryptocurrencies now are going to be really showing just how powerful they are, again, because of less barriers to entry, how easy it is now to get a crypto account and get some crypto for yourself and to put it into your private wallet, and so much else that will show up on the blockchain, and there'll be, again, growing demand for limited supply of these goods, something you don't really see with fiat currencies. It's what it's all about. It's about keeping these governments a little bit more honest and from printing as much money. Because previously you had, like in America, you had the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans are supposed to stop spending as much, and the Democrats spend it to send it. But it's like they're both spending an insane amount of money. So now we need a new party. It's called the Crypto Party, and we're the ones that stop everyone else from printing a crazy amount of money. And if they want to print it, it's fine, because eventually it will show up in crypto and make you quite happy once we get through this bear market. So I think it's going to be stupid, again, probably this next bear market with the amount of money sitting in accounts, looking for a place to park that'll perhaps be a little bit safer here and show gains. And I think crypto is still going to be that place to be, considering the huge drop. Anyway, Sam Bankman-Fried, he's been released on a $250 million bail secured by parents, to update you guys on that news. So I think this is quite surprising for me. Overnight, he was shipped over to New York from the Bahamas, and there he was granted bail. It looks like his parents' house in Palo Alto, California. Palo Alto is basically Silicon Valley. And so you can imagine how they could have a $250 million house. His parents, they teach at Stanford. Makes sense. They're well connected. $250 million house is probably nothing for them. But anyway, using the equity from that house, they were able to get bail through this deal for Sam Bankman-Fried. There's different rules and requirements for him. He's not allowed to make financial transactions for more than $1,000. Can't open new lines of credit. It's ridiculous to me. Can't leave the house except to exercise. I mean, just walking is considered exercise. So basically he can leave the house, right? Whenever he wants to. It doesn't even say strenuous exercise here, like speed walking. Just exercise. And must go through substance abuse and mental health treatment. So he probably blamed it on the goose that got him feeling loose. Blamed it on Patron that got him feeling drunk. No, he probably blamed it on the the regular amphetamines and so on. But quite insane. I think this picture is quite telling. He doesn't look very scared to me at all. He looks completely confident that he's going to be all right. And why is he going to be all right? He's basically going back into what we were all doing with the pandemic, which is sitting at home most of the time, which is ridiculous to me. To me, this is so wrong that you have this individual able to walk free, basically, go home like nothing has happened here, when if he couldn't afford $250 million, he would have to sit in jail just like any average person would, anybody who doesn't have the crazy means that he does. It's just such a pay-for-play system, and it really outlines how terribly unjust this system is to me. It's so wrong on so many different levels to me here. But I'm not surprised. I'm not very surprised right now. He was supposed to be going to Manhattan to go to the same prison, perhaps, that Epstein had not committed suicide or did commit suicide. I don't know what side you're on. But even for now, it looks like he'll be sitting outside of that while the lengthy charges against him are further investigated. It is the case that they could put more charges on him as well. But for now, he has been granted bail and is walking free. Ridiculous. Someone else who looks like they're going to be walking somewhat free is Caroline Ellison. I didn't get to report on this yesterday with you guys, but she was a CEO of Alameda Research, and Gary Wong as well, who was one of the founders of FTX, one of the co-founders. Basically, the three of them and others had lived in the mansion together, but Caroline Ellison and Gary Wong have agreed to basically rat out, like we suspected would happen, is happening, agreed to rat out Sam Bankman-Fried in a trade-off for leniency. So she could be released on a $250,000 bail. They're going to be dropping 7 different charges that were readied for Miss Ellison. 2 had accused her of committing wire fraud on customers of FTX and engaging in conspiring to do so. Another 2 alleged she committed wire fraud on the lenders of Alameda Research and conspired to do so. Count 5 charged with a conspiracy to commit commodities fraud. Count 6 of that is conspiracy to commit securities fraud on FTX's equity investors, and the 7th count accused her of conspiring to commit money laundering. Apparently the attorney's office has agreed not to prosecute her on any of those seven accounts in exchange for her cooperation. And she has to completely disclose information, yada yada, along with Gary Wong. And it's possible, however, that she does face prosecution for other things, including criminal tax violations, should they be revealed by the court proceedings. But what is up with this 250,000 number? I mean, we got 250 million, 250,000 here. Are they just like rounding things off here? Well, how do they figure these numbers out? This is just ridiculous to me. Have you guys been watching Martin Shkreli? He was someone who had been involved in some financial fraud with his company or his fund back in like 2013. We had talked about him. He's been making the rounds in crypto and so on. He was part of the meme where he was in a conversation with Sam Bankman-Fried before he was prosecuted, and he had basically said on that call that was live streamed that it's, to Sam Bankman-Fried, prison is not that bad. So Martin Shkreli, he's been talking about what gang on YouTube. He's been talking about what gang Sam Bankman-Fried might be joining if he does prison time, how much time he could be spending in jail. I don't know. I think Sam Bankman-Fried is a little bit more connected, perhaps, than even Martin Shkreli here, who was out after just a few years, but I don't know what's going on with this case. Anyway, lastly, I wanted to remark on this. We don't often talk too much about crypto upgrades that are really interesting, but Avalanche is one of the more promising projects out there as far as rivals to Ethereum, and they have recently launched an upgrade called Banff5, which will allow the different subnets of Avalanche, so you can create like basically different blockchains within it, but will allow them to finally speak between each other. And so this has launched through something called Avalanche Warp Messaging. It uses BLS multi-signatures to verify messages and data across chains. But as it says here, according to Patrick O'Grady, head of engineering, Avalanche Warp Messaging, AWM, is the catalyst that will spark a Cambrian explosion of Avalanche subnet development. With this release, you can launch your own Go or Rust-based blockchain and reward any node that stakes your own token for validating it, all while natively interoperating with an ecosystem of other builders doing the same thing. So I think that's a pretty cool upgrade to be coming out right now. It kind of reminds me somewhat of like Cosmos, Atom, and that. Although Cosmos' Atom is trying to connect different kinds of blockchains, not just like Avalanche-based blockchains. But still a good step here in the right direction, I would say, for Avalanche, for the different projects that are built over it to be able to communicate with each other. And if I was a developer and I was getting ready to build on Avalanche, I would definitely be more excited right now to know that this was the case. So pretty cool stuff. I don't think it's being reflected at all in the price. But this is the kind of thing you see in the bear market. In the bull market, it would have been like, bid it up, send it. And right now, it's basically up like 0.2% on the day. Yeah, finally, this got settled here. I got an email. Equifax breach settlement fund has sent me $5.20. So Equifax, as I'm sure you've heard, had breached all this data, right? They collect it for credit scores, and they had leaked information. I mean, everything about you. I had filed to get some funds from the eventual settlement here. And it looks like my identity was worth $5.20 here. At least this is settled, but just so ridiculous, right? Like, what is the point even of these class action lawsuits sometimes? It doesn't really benefit us when our information has already been leaked. Ties into crypto in so many different ways, although crypto is still trying to solve us not losing our own funds or getting hacked. So hopefully the technology is a bit better in 10 years, and I'm sure it will be. Anyway, I'll finish with a quote of the day, and it's a dedication to you guys who stay here, stick around, and stay on top of the news and what's going on in crypto, and eventually, and have always been rewarded for doing so, which is from a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow. Asicalas. Yeah, I think that it's happened to me a lot just by covering stuff on this show for you guys, where I hear something and I don't really know the impact of that information and how it's going to benefit me or others till a long ways down the road, as that news maybe plays a role in some sort of action that I take later on, or just so many different ways that something like that plays on a role down the line. So I think that's the case with what's going on here. It's not really clear to us how all of this will come together to create a new direction for crypto and for the world, but maybe you guys can start to see inklings of what's going to be happening. And I know by covering this over time that I do start to get hints eventually of that, and I'll be happy to pass that forward as things become clear. But for now, stay safe out there. It's going to be a crazy time, right? I think for the markets very soon as we start off next year, and you want to be defensive and try to manage risk as much as possible. Since if you can't survive, then it's pretty much over for you for the most part. So take care, everyone. I wish you continued happy holidays and love, health, wealth, prosperity. Take care, much love, and stay cryptic. Peace.